Hey guys, thanks for joining me. This is something I've actually been thinking about quite a lot recently. Anyone who's seen my ranking video on Star Wars knows that I don't take as much offense to The Last Jedi as much of the rest of the fandom. With that said, it is important to note that this film did greatly harm Star Wars. So we're going to have to talk about it. I'm trying to answer the question of which one harmed Star Wars more. The Last Jedi or Rise of Skywalker. They're both terrible. And as a movie, I don't think The Last Jedi is even as bad as The Force Awakens, since it's a carbon copy of A New Hope with a different name. However, something that The Force Awakens did that neither of the two previous films did is it set a foundation. It did something that other films could build off of. Now, in terms of The Rise of Skywalker, it's sort of a silly thing to say since it's not meant to be built off of because it's the last film in the saga. However, it still ruined Star Wars. The Last Jedi also ruined Star Wars. I'm trying to figure out which one ruined Star Wars more. And that's what I'm going to tell you about. Ultimately, I think everyone's answer to this question changes depending on what they try and find in these films. If they find character assassination more egregious or if poor storytelling is something that they hate. Because that's the distinction here. The Last Jedi completely and utterly assassinates so many characters. We see that from Poe, we see that from Finn, we see that from Leia, we see that from Luke. And that's just to name a few. All of these characters act wildly out of character and get completely, utterly assassinated in this movie. That's part of the issue. Whereas in The Rise of Skywalker, I don't think I need to go too in-depth about this, the characters have already been murdered. They can't murder them any worse than they already have, and so the awfulness comes from the storytelling aspect. That there's tons of plot holes, tons of contrivances, things that don't make sense, and the biggest contrivance is the basis of the film, which is, of course, the fact that Palpatine has returned. For these reasons, I think it's really up to judgment from person to person which one is worse in terms of what it did to Star Wars. Because on one hand, The Last Jedi didn't technically kill, but character assassinated a lot of different characters. And this didn't set a good foundation. It made people hate the film. A lot of people, Last Jedi is their least favorite Star Wars movie, and I completely understand why. There's so many people that act completely out of character, and it's frustrating. It's not as holy, though. It doesn't have as many plot holes, it doesn't have as many contrivances. And for the most part, the world building is better. It's not good, but it's better. And so this is going to vary from person to person. Me personally, I think The Last Jedi murdered Star Wars more. I think that from an objective filmmaking standpoint, Rise of Skywalker is the worst movie. I do. It's bad on every level, and it doesn't make sense on any level. And so I think from a film quality perspective, Rise of Skywalker wins. However, in terms of what it did to Star Wars and the precedent that it set, I think The Last Jedi's got to win. The reason for this is because, like I said, it killed off so many characters, including Snoke. He got literally killed. He didn't get character assassinated, he just right down the gutter. So the issue with that is that it doesn't set a foundation. It's how you end a saga. It's not how you write the middle chapter of a saga. This film shows exactly what to do wrong, because while The Rise of Skywalker was about as bad as it could be, there's no way it could have been good with where The Last Jedi left off, what it gave it to work with. And that's the main issue here. I think if the trilogy got rewritten and that J.J. Abrams actually did all of it, for how much I can't fucking stand him, I do realize that it would probably be better if not for the fact that it was a different director in the middle movie. Makes sense, doesn't it? However, I cannot say that I think The Last Jedi is a worse film. It did worse things. It was a bigger problem, but it wasn't the worst movie. And I think that's got to be my final verdict. like I said, guys, I'm going to make that combat ranking video. This was just something I wanted to write up while I was thinking of it. It's sort of nice that I actually know how to edit now. I probably won't upload this video today on the 13th because I got to edit it still. And it still won't be as good as a lot of other creators in terms of its editing, but it won't just be me staring at you the whole time, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Anyway, I'll see you next time. Bye!